I love my family, and I love this state, and I'm very concerned about the future of the state. And in particular, the passion that sets my soul on fire as I look at what we can do to improve this state is jobs, 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 jobs. To me, that is the #1 issue. That is the top 5 issues that we face as a state is how we create more jobs. And so what I'm trying to do, literally, is to go around the state and look at places where I see best practices in place. And so it was brought to my attention that right here at Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 400, there is a phenomenal cooperation agreement and spirit between management and labor that provides for what I have just seen to be a phenomenal training center, but more importantly, creates that communication and those relationships between management and labor that allows people to not only work, but to continue learning while they're working. And to me, that's a big part of what we have to do as a state. I think most people recognize that we're in a very serious economic downturn. What they might not realize is just the breadth of the downturn. And what I mean by that is, in the last 15 months, of the 101 largest metropolitan areas in the country, of the largest 101 metropolitan areas in the country, 100 of them lost jobs. That's how widespread it is. And I think we all know here in Wisconsin in the building trades that there's 25 to 30% of the workers are on the bench right now. The work is not there. And so my challenge, your challenge, our challenge as a state is to be quicker, smarter, and more aggressive in coming out of this economic downturn than any other place in the country. So again, when Mark's telling me about the relationships that are here between the employers and the unions and how the attempt is being made to make sure that people have the training they need, not only in safety, but and obviously in the technology and the latest improvements that are made in the industry, that sends a message, I think, throughout this state that Local 400 gets it, that it understands that you really have to be proactive and aggressive. And it's very, very impressive to see that even in this economic downturn, that safety and education are not the first 2 things that are thrown to the side, because oftentimes that's what happens. And that is clearly not what has happened here. But we have a lot of work to do, and we have to be more creative than we've ever been before. We have to be more aggressive. I can tell you one of my frustrations, and I'll just share this with you, is as a mayor of the city of Milwaukee, we've had a lot of the pressures, obviously, that many parts of the state, many parts of the country have as well. We've had a lot of them for a much longer period of time. And one of my most vivid memories was about 4 or 5 years ago when the CEO of Osiris International, maker of large cranes, largest crane maker in the world now, wanted to have an expansion. And they were literally trying to decide whether to expand in Wisconsin or go to Idaho or Texas. And we sat down with them, and we sat down with the state, and came up with a package that allowed them to have a major expansion right here in the state of Wisconsin. But it was about 3 or 4 months later that the CEO was back in my office and sat down with me and said, "We've got a big problem. We can't find welders." And here I'm pulling my hair out because we had put so much effort into retaining this great employer, only to find the biggest challenge they had at that point was finding people who could do the job. And so we worked with the technical college, we worked with some other programs to get them the welders. I mention that because obviously welding is a big part of this program here as well. And to have the understanding that you have to have people in place who get that training, I think it shows again how far you are ahead of many different parts of this country. But we have to do more. And my commitment to you is that the governor of this state, from the moment I set foot in that office, is to do everything I can to create more jobs where people can support their families. Because that's what this is all about. What I have found in the state of Wisconsin is people like to divide us between north and south, or east or west, or urban and rural. But in every single part of this state, I have found that the values that we have as citizens of this state are much more in common than the things that divide us. And what I mean by values, everywhere in this state I go, people want to make sure that their kids have good schools. They want to make sure that their parents have good health care as they get older. They want to make sure that they've got a job where they can support their family. And they want to be able to go out on the weekend and have fun. And that's all good stuff. Again, every single part of the state. And I think what we see oftentimes in politics is people try to find ways to have you distrust you or to have you distrust you. But I think if we focus on what we have to focus on in the state, and that is jobs, 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 trying to get the employers to have the ability to get more jobs, trying to get the financial institutions, and this is a huge issue, financial institutions to start making the loans to businesses. One of the problems I've seen on development, and I know a lot of the building and trades guys here and gals here are involved in wanting to build stuff. Mayors love building stuff. I can tell you as a mayor of a large city, I love cranes. I love building stuff because that means people are working, that means the community is moving forward. But right now we've got a challenge because our federal government's message in some regards is we want the regulators to be very, very careful on who gets loans. And I understand the regulatory function. But then we have people who want to do building who can't get the loans. We've got to find ways to free up those credit markets so we can start building more stuff. So again, my request to you, for those of you who build stuff, is to build more stuff. And I'll do what I can to help the building trades to do that. For those of you in fields like plumbing and steam fitting, the employers, and again, this is a very impressive program because of the very strong employer tie, and the fact that everybody who comes through the doors here is someone who is sponsored by an employer, shows you the really strong relationship that you can have when you've got employers and employees working together. So I know that this is a tough time in the state. I know, quite honestly, it's a tough time to run for governor because people are scared, they're angry, they're scared of both parties, they're scared because they've seen failures and they haven't seen enough recovery quickly enough. But Mayor Rosen can probably understand what I'm about to say. The one thing you learn as mayor is that people don't care whether their snow is plowed by a Democrat or Republican. They just want their roads plowed. And they don't care if their government is picked up, their garbage is picked up by a conservative or liberal. They just want their garbage picked up. And in a sense, that's the challenge that our state has right now, is we don't have time right now for huge partisan battles because there are too many people who are hurting. There are too many people who feel the uncertainty of having lost a job or having their hours reduced or having their pay reduced. And our job is to work together to try to move this state forward. So that's my pledge to you. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, Mark. And those of you who represent management, I thank you for the good relationship you've had. Those of you who are from the other trades, just keep working. We'll try to get more work for you because that's what this is all about. So thank you very, very much. Thank you.
And security for the workers. Thank you.